times in the Old Testament, God judged the nation of Israel, bringing them to ruin and destruction for their rebellion. Israel's arrogance and defiance towards God's judgment and his prophets led God to use a variety of means to punish them, including using the nations around them to bring them to their knees. Isaiah 9:8, the Lord sent a word into Jacob, and it has lighted upon Israel. Verse 9, all the people will know, Ephraim and the inhabitant of Samaria, who say in pride and arrogance of heart, the bricks have fallen down, but we will build with hewn stones. The sycamores are cut down, but we will change them into cedars. Israel departing from God, rebelling against him, relying on their own strength and will, and not the Lord anymore. God used another nation to humble them. And in the book of Isaiah, one of those nations God used was the nation of Assyria, whose leader and people did not serve God. The Bible describes Assyria of that time to be a brutal, ungodly nation, engaging in terror tactics and extreme brutality to bring their enemies into their captivity and destroy them. God allowed them to be built up, strengthened, and dominate for his own purposes, using their very identity, their ungodliness, and brutal will against his own people, sending them to destroy them and bring them into ruin. Isaiah 10:5 says, O Assyrian, the rod of my anger, and the staff in their hand is my wrath. Verse 6, I will send him against a hypocritical or ungodly nation, and against the people of my wrath will I give him a charge, to take the spoil, to take the prey, to tread them down like mire of the streets. The very God who loved Israel and chose Israel was now sending a built-up army who hates them to destroy them. And this being done because of the leaders and its nation turning away from God and pursuing evil, denying justice, accepting bribes to turn down justice, and to commit abominations for the sake of power, pleasure, or filthy lucre. Israel, in their disobedience, suffered the very curses that were written to those who turned away from God. But with God using the king of Assyria to destroy his people, the king of Assyria believed that it was his own intellect, strength, and warrior mentality that brought him this great victory. Isaiah 10:13, he said, by the strength of my own hand I have done it, by my wisdom, for I am prudent, and I have removed the bounds of the people, and I have robbed their treasures, and I have put down the inhabitants like a valiant man. In his own mind he believed he was a heroic, determined warrior, that by his wisdom and strength he built a dominating empire that could not be stopped. But in the same way God judged his own people for their arrogance, he then judged Assyria and the king of Assyria for their arrogance. Isaiah 10:16, therefore the Lord Almighty, will send a wasting disease upon his sturdy warriors. Under his pomp a fire will be kindled like a blazing fire. God sapped the strength of the Assyrian king's army, and a king without his army is suddenly nothing, and can easily suffer defeat. And this is often what happens with arrogance, delusional thinking that one cannot be stopped. So what can we learn from this Old Testament account? We can learn that God can and will use anybody to carry out his purpose, and that one should not depart from the living God or their faith in him, which oftentimes brings destruction. That God opposes the arrogant but gives grace to the humble. And although this is Old Testament under the law, these things are written for our learning, that we should not follow in the same faulty patterns,